We all know what is the right thing to do, but we don't know how to get re-elected after doing it, said the former Prime Minister of Luxembourg and the President of European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker. What does this mean? Why do politicians feel that doing the right things are not rewarded by the people? Do people actually not care for the right things? What is the right things anyway? How do politicians actually make these decisions of what is right and wrong? Let us take a stab at unpacking this in the current episode of the OoruLabs podcast. I'm your host, Sathya Sankaran. In episode 8 of this season, we double clicked on public choice theory. Public choice theory states that although people acting in the political marketplace have some concern for others, their main motive, whether they are voters, politicians, lobbyists, or bureaucrats, is self interest, which means they will do what it takes to protect their interest, which for a politician might be getting voted back to power after their term, which means they will do what is populist. What is this word populist or even popular? It simply means that a person or group or the ideology strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel their concerns are disregarded by the established elite groups. And popular takes off on this as well. So here are three things politicians care about: one, projects; two, popularity; three, power. And these aren't necessarily in order, but we know one relies on the other. If projects make them popular by putting their name on it, their face on it, the hope is that they will come back into power. But life is beyond projects. And politicians are not elected to execute projects. They are there to make laws and policies for the people to live as a collective in society. Their role is to understand externalities that affect the public, goods and services, or set ground rules for like trade, commerce, etc. But how do they decide something is worth becoming a policy of the government? How do they make sure that people see that these policies are accepted? This is where the Overton window steps in. The term is named after the American policy analyst and former senior vice president at the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, Joseph Overton, who proposed a model for understanding public policy making. The Overton window is a model for understanding how ideas in society change over time and influence politics. The core concept is that politicians are limited in what policy ideas they can support. They generally only pursue policies that are widely accepted throughout society as legitimate policy options. These policies that are popular lie inside the Overton window. Other policy ideas exist, but politicians will risk losing popular support if they champion these ideas. And these policies lie outside the Overton window. I'll give you an example of what Shashi Tharoor once said when asked by some reporters why he isn't supporting a policy on allowing women to enter the Sabarimala temple. If you followed that Sabarimala temple issue, it was off limits for women as a practice. And he said that unlike pre-independence era Article 377 that prohibited LGBTQ physical activities, where he could stand by a movement to strike it down that made the issue popular, Sabarimala is still seen as radical, and maybe after 20 years from now, people might think opposing women from entering the temple was unreasonable. But right now, it is not a popular opinion. So it was easy for politicians to stand by the movement striking down of the 377 since it was inside the window. Any policy action on the Sabarimala temple was outside the window at the time of all these things coming up. So, in order for issues that some of us care about, they should not be unthinkable or radical. They need to become acceptable, sensible, and popular among the public discourse. Unless the issue we care about moves to becoming popular, policies will not get done. So, how do issues become popular? This Overton window is not unalterable. As you saw in the Article 377 issue, where many people stepped up and campaigned for it to be struck down, the Overton window can both shift and expand. Sometimes politicians can move the window themselves by courageously endorsing a policy lying outside the window. But this is also rare, and it also may not stick around for long if it is top down only, right? The courageous politician also has to quickly work towards mainstreaming it. to making it the societal norm, or he has to risk the policy going into non-implementation graveyard. This is what Jean-Claude Juncker was hinting at when he said that we can do good things, but it will be largely ignored by the masses. Why risk it? So who shifts this window? The window moves based on a much more complex and dynamic phenomenon, one that is not easily controlled from one place. This is the slow evolution of societal values and norms. This is also called creeping normality. It also has other names like gradualism or landscape amnesia and things like that in different contexts. But creeping normality is a process by which a major change can be accepted as normal and acceptable in the window if it happens gradually through small, often unnoticeable increments of change. The change could otherwise be regarded as remarkable and objectionable if it took hold suddenly or in a very short time span. But there's no telling. If there is a popular movement by society and markets to mainstream an issue or solution, it is possible to make it normative among a significant section of the population quite quickly, also, like in the case of climate change. Action by society is the key. Another example, caste based political action is a current social norm across the country. Urban areas see less of it, but quickly begins to show up as you move outside of the cities into the hinterland. Political action also begins to account for it in the campaigns, the promises, the actions, post elections, and things like that. And we have all seen that. How do you move electoral attention from that to issues of infrastructure, climate change, and quality of life in cities? It's done in society and via markets and mental model shifts assisted by strong regulation and changes in the underlying structures. It's not by passing policy alone, which doesn't have a pathway to alter social norms. It is by including societal action at a granular level by civil society actors and the marketplace into the shifting of what people feel is normative in society. So, if your idea lies outside the window, trying to convince politicians to embrace it is a steep hill to climb. You likely need to start at the ground level, slowly building support for your idea throughout the broader society and target groups. And then, if it catches root, there will be politicians who will eventually come on board. So, what are some of the changes you want to see in your city? How will your politician know if you will vote for him if he actually promised to work on it? What are the issues you think are radical and unthinkable that you're thinking of, and how will you get it into the popular realm? What is the role of civil society and market in driving your idea into the popular realm? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode.